Yeah, we can start. So, welcome. I think, well, part of the reason why not a lot of people are here is because we changed a few things with the live, so I don't think it notified anyone. But in any case, uh, what I like to do at the start of every stream and revisiting um, in parts of the streams, so the streams until 11, is fundamental analysis. So, yesterday our F&G index was at 19. Hey, Watley, welcome. Was at 19. So we have dropped 5 points, which is interesting because of the fact that technically we are pumping right now. And I have said on stream before that I do think we get uh, a squeeze up to 75k, do a little test back down, and head potentially to 80k because uh, there is confluence up there. There's an FEG, as well as the fact that in terms of um, post having your cycles, right? If you sort of project or measure from where you are, actually, we'll just go through that later. But there is a chance that you get a little bit higher than 80k until you finally capitulate further down to about 50. Going to the liquidation levels, something that is a little alarming is the fact that the 1 day has completely outdone. I mean, the long side has completely outdone the short side. You can see that there's over 2.8 billion compared to about 741 million. So it's about a 4 to 1 uh, liquidate ratio. Now we have seen this before, especially when we started sort of dropping from 96k. Hey, Cranium, it's been a while. Good morning. Uh, but, you know, as a contrarian, whenever I see this, I am a little bit alarmed, but it does feed into my thesis of the short that I posted to short at around 75k. I might modify the entry a little bit just to really hit it, but we'll see from there. 7 days probably gonna be the same story. Yep, so this is the ratios we were dealing with during the crash, uh, early Feb. Excuse me. And you know, this is not a sustainable amount of. It's not a sustainable ratio between longs and shorts. So I'm a little bit worried, but if we can squeeze like this to the downside, we can also squeeze to the upside. Hey, little fish, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. 30 day I think is going to be the same. So let's see what time frame will show us. It might just be the 1 year. So the 1 year there is still more shorts than longs. However, the likelihood of returning back to all time high, I don't think so. I do think that we want a scenario. For example, this 1 year only stretches to about 82k now. So I think we want a scenario where the longs are just completely lopsiding the shorts on, say, the 1 year, and then that's when we get our dump. And you know, the data today came out. It's a little bit of a stagflation there, lower GDP than expected. Slightly cooler inflation, but not a target. So it's stagflation. Terrible. It's one of the worst possible economic conditions you can have because ideally, if your inflation's high, you want your GDP to be high as well. But yeah, the only real way to solve stagflation is to, well, in terms of a neoclassical monetarian perspective, the only way to solve it is through quantitative easing, but that might further entrench the U.S. economy into greater inflation. So we'll just have to figure things out from there. Looking at the RSI heat map, the 4 hour is overbought. We have the likes of Trump just all the way up there. Render is also up there. Uh, BNB's up there. BTC, Solana, Ethereum, Aster, Aave, Sui might be somewhere in there. So there's really a lot of coins here that are showing a lot of strength, but it is a little concerning. Actually, I'm not too concerned about Trump being overbought. Like, go figure. Liquidation heat map. You're starting to build clusters and hotspots to the downside, whereas before we had all of them to the top side. 48 hour, there's none to the top side, all to the downside. 3 day, there's just one big one to the downside. So the big ones are at 68,000. So thankfully, we are a little bit out of the chopping block since I called a long at 62.3. Still in that long. It's been there for quite a while. Yeah, there's really nothing showing for the top side at the moment. I think we might go as far as the 1 month just to see. So there's something at around 73k. But all of the hotspots are basically to the downside. Oh, okay. So 3 months, you have topside targets, 92,000. Really far. But in terms of the 3 months, the shorts still outweigh the longs. So what I'm seeing is a potential squeeze in the short term, back up here, retest some key supports that you'll be making, and then we'll probably see where we go from there. I think that ends our fundamental analysis, so we can head over to the technicals, because that's the fun part. Yeah, welcome Shani, Vamshi, welcome, Maxi, Haji. Oh, name's truncated, but I see Haji and like the mushroom. Lovely name. Welcome. Uh, all right, so let's look at Bitcoin. Actually, let's do the 1 week. I know we visited this earlier, right at the start of the week. And I say start of the week as if it was the start when it was Wednesday, right? But start of the streams for me, anyways. And yeah, this is sort of playing out right now. So again, I wasn't too worried about the fact that we had a long wick, because whenever you have a long wick such as this with a very small body, or actually it doesn't even have to be small, just a visually long wick, you tend to fill out 70 to 90% of them before any sort of reversal can happen. So fact of the matter is, just visually looking at this, I'm sure we filled out about 90% of that. I mean, if we want to be extra technical, right? 11.95%, so 90% is 9 times 1.2, so about 10.8%, right? Yeah, this is already 10 point. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we filled it up already, just at the top of that wick, 11.24%. So I feel about 94% ish, I'd like to say. But point is, here on the 1 week, and the reason why I've just been trying to do longs throughout the duration of the week is because of the fact that the 1 week is appearing as though it wants to head to this FVG at about 80k, and there are different confluences, right? We bounced off the 200-week moving average. We're getting that color change on the ribbon, as well as a peak bottom and a momentum shift here on the MVP ribbon. And for those who don't know what this little white line is, that's the fluid zero line. Essentially, it allows us to have support and resistance on momentum, which is very interesting when you think about it. So right now, it's signifying that this entire move right here, there's still overall bearish momentum, right? We haven't really gotten above the fluid zero line yet. And even if we do push up, we have resistance, which is why overall I do think that when we get to this FVG, if we even get there, and even if we pass it, let's say we go to this prime block right here, it's possible that we just capitulate further down. Right? This area is sort of my interest. I'm actually going to do probably my largest, actually not my largest, second largest, because I bought over here. Yeah, probably second largest purchase of Bitcoin ever around this level, because it looks fairly strong and structurally pretty decent, although it could push further down. But that's sort of what I'm looking at right now. And up until the end of March, I'm looking at doing some long swings and then some short scalps, if that is possible. So yeah, let's sort of go back to Bitcoin, given that that's the context, right? Yeah, so this is the 5 minutes, the 1 hour. 1 hour is not overbought. We're really pushing up. The symmetrical triangle we drew, honestly, wait, let's remove some of these drawings so we can see that symmetrical triangle. Symmetrical triangle we drew, or the market dynamics drew, has broken out, and there is that push to 80,000. So again, there's this large confluence that 80,000 might be the potential top of March, right? And what I'm looking for, right, is either some sort of close at 80,000 in March, 88,000, and maybe even 92,000. But that's yet to come. Like, right now, we have a short order waiting at about 75,000. Let me double check what I actually placed. Hold on. So I did call a short at 75,657, and the logic there, of course, is the 12 hour, right? I'm sure a dynamic reactor is going to appear right here. So the logic there is this dynamic reactor. When we touch this, we're likely going to need to do some sort of retest back, right? Because you can't just, it's something like this essentially. Retest back to the channel and then you push back up. So I think something like that ought to happen. And the fact that whenever your reactors get close to price action, interesting things tend to happen. So again, I am planning to short around this area, right? This range speaks pretty well to me. I think you go back down to this support and then you get a proper rally to perhaps 80K where the quantum reactor and this FVG is at. Now, if we're looking at it broadly from perhaps a volume profile perspective, or if we use volume profile theory, if we get to this point, it's likely we squeeze up to the next high volume node at about 87,000. So again, what I'm looking for is how we close in March. How we close in March is going to be very important, right? That to me signifies potentially a local top. Going back just to maybe illustrate that, because you shouldn't base your evidence solely on history, but you can use historical data statistics to basically gauge the likelihood of a certain move. So for example, right, this move right here, right, this was where's Feb? Okay, Feb 28. So here's Feb 28, 2022, closed like this. And right, what preceded that was a peak bottom and a hidden bullish div. Not all that different from what we have right now. Granted, this is excuse me, this isn't a hidden bullish divergence, but it is a bullish divergence. And we also have a peak bottom. So fun, right? So quite similar, not exactly the same, but quite similar. Notice that after this point, right, when we got the hidden bullish div, and when we got our peak seeker, we did end up going down, but that area, right, is very close to this candle. So if you want to get from the bottom extremity, that's about a 28-29% move. So let's say 30%, right? Because bull runs supposedly get better, bear cycles supposedly get weaker, but this really didn't prove anything other than getting to new all-time highs. So if we plot where we got the bullish div and the blah 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 blah, right? I shouldn't say blah 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 blah. And we extend it to about 28%. You can see that it does put us at 84, and if we get to about 29%, that puts us at 84.5, exactly where the chick magnet is right now. That also is a fairly decent volume node on the weekly. Granted, all the volume's down here, but there is this big gap in volume on the weekly, right? So this range, I'm going to plot it as a rectangle finally, because we've got a fairly defined range. This range is what I'm looking at for a potential, and I'll probably add a text right here. Lower high zone. let's call it a lower high zone. Probably not the right terminology, but it's for brevity, right? So this area right here is what I'm looking for in terms of a potential mass short. Granted, we'll have to wait and see what the conditions are like at that point, but that's the point of futures. We project into the future based on the data we have now and in the past. So looking at Bitcoin, I think this move continues, right? It is market open, 21 minutes after market open. Let's probably look for either a long swing or a short scalp. Oops, that's not good. Gotta cut. Um, Long swing or short scalp when it hits 10 and go from there. 1 hour still looks like it wants to head up, but actually we might even get our short within the day, which is, oh wait, this is the it's oh, the 1 hour. This is the 12 hour. I can't believe myself. 12 hour does seem like it wants to continue pushing up. So yeah, this is what Little Fish and I were talking about. You know, you got, I actually, I believe, uh, who else? Who else was talking about it? Uh, duh, 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 duh. Oh, someone tagged me. I should probably answer that after the stream. Oh yeah, Draxus. This is our bullish butt cheek pattern, right? Flatulence, push up. It's elementary. Um, yeah, I think I have a meeting. All right, take care, Haji. All right, take care, Haji. I hope your meeting goes well. Don't stress. I'm recording this, so if you want to watch this later, I'll have it posted ASAP. Take care. Okay. Okay. Uh, yeah. All right. So, oh, that's a drawing tool. My bad. But yeah, it's still 9:53, so 7 minutes, and then we'll probably look for positions. Let's wait for this candle to close. Note that we do have a a notable amount of inflow, which does tell me that we will continue to push, right? But also note that our fluid zero line on our higher time frame is headed up. It's actually really high on our lower time frame as well. So the higher your fluid zero line is, the easier it is to fall off the fluid zero line and go bearish. It's very simple. So again, this range right here very important. We possibly could even get our short, um, like I said, within the day, right? Within the next 24 hours. And I do think it is likely to happen, right? If you go here, you're going to retest this level, and if that sort of fails or drops, then you retest this level. And I do believe the first take profit, excuse me, sorry, I do believe our first take profit is at this area. Let me double check. Voices in my phone. Yep, it's about 73,756. So, yeah, it's around this area. So logically and rationally, it does make sense for me, anyways. And of course, when it comes to trading, right? Whenever Runair, Nas, or I give signals, you can always modify them based on your experience and how you use your indicators. So their ideas as it lists, right? But they're informed, and we do tell you our rationale. We show you our charts. So I think what I'll do, given that there's still 5 minutes, I'll wait for the close, but I do want to do. I'll leave the short to do its thing. So I kind of want to look for a long. Now, obviously, there is a danger to doing a long right now because of the fact that we do have a lot of liquidity to the downside, which incentivizes a move to the downside. So if we don't get a long, we can probably set a swing long because ultimately I do think we get some sort of rejection at this level, right? Closer to here, of course. But I do think this is going to squeeze 2 hours short. And for those who um, just arrived, hello, I'm Langestrom. Also, if any of you have any coins or assets you want me to check out, just let me know. Like, don't be shy. Let me just grab the signal here so I can post it in our chat. Copy text, right? Right here. Ooh, no. Oh man. Yeah, just so everyone knows what short I'm actually talking about. There we go. So yeah, that's the short I'm looking at. 75657. So let's grab a horizontal ray. Oh, I don't know why that didn't trigger. 657. Ah, close enough. So yeah, let's grab a short projection. Stop loss at 78. This is a short swing. And then we're aiming for a move back to potentially 70, which is actually a prime block, funnily enough. Yeah, okay. So that's a 1 to 2 risk toward, and then let's hide this for now. Right. And then I'm gonna set, oh yeah, I already have alerts ready. Yeah, I think we're good. Let's just wait for the 1 hour close. Actually, we can probably look at other assets, something like gold. So gold right now, the hidden bullish divergence hasn't played out, which is interesting on the 1 day. You do have heavy money outflow, but do note that your bearish volume is decreasing. You still have a lot of bearish strength, and you got rejected from your MVP ribbon on the 1 day. So gold doesn't look all that appetizing to me at the moment. This could be a head and shoulders, a very ugly one at that, right? Some sort of head and shoulders pattern. I'm not really a huge fan of head and shoulders because actually it's funny because there's a shampoo brand here that's called Head and Shoulders, and I'm also not a fan of Head and Shoulders. But anyways, not a huge fan of Head and Shoulders because of the fact that when you get to the neckline, which is also the prime block, you tend to find some kind of support for Head and Shoulders, right? So when it gets down to this level, there is a chance it bounces, and the fact your dynamic reactor is trying to get to that point, that also tells me that as soon as you get here, your dynamic reactor will probably be over here, which means even if it does fall, it's probably gonna face quite the support from the dynamic reactor. Oh, good morning, Aya. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, I see a lot of people have an MT. Welcome. Mila. AK for AK477. Welcome. Oh, man. These names are really creative, guys. Goodness. This is what I live for. Alright, so what am I looking for? Gold. Maybe we can short it actually. So this is the 1 hour. I think gold could push a little further up, so let's wait for the hour. Actually, hourly closes in a couple seconds. Okay, so diamond trend shift, we could short that. I think what I'll wait for is gold to move up and then short it. I don't want to short it when it's down here. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin closed fairly strong, so at least we have a short position ready for when it does push here. 1R should go overbought at this point, right? Hasn't been overbought yet, right? So last time it was overbought, it was over here and over here. So it hasn't gone overbought yet. And I do think we get a push to this point. Yeah. Oh, Hemdroid, welcome. Thank you for dropping by. Uh, thank you so much. Let's see here. Uh, man. Okay, let's put gold maybe on 4 hour and 30 minutes. Looking to potentially swing this maybe to the downside. But it does look like it's finding support. Right, this is a failed bullish cross right here. Dynamic reactor above quantum reactor, and then yeah, it's this one's a failed bullish cross. I mean, it tried, but it couldn't sustain. Mm. Actually, let's have a look at Trump. It was one of the main coins that was overbought on the RSI. So Trump. What's funny is I had like a Trump short in October. Probably should have kept that. Oh man. Yeah, that's a natural. So we did get a 90.31% volatility right there. So that was the crash. It's pushing up. So I think this is going to be a very similar story to the likes of Bitcoin. Potential idea we can do on Trump is something like shorting at the quantum reactor, right? That would allow your 12-hour to go overbought, or potentially even move closer to the upper extremity, maybe even slightly higher down to the prime block. Now, the reason I want to do this, other than being contrarian in nature and looking for reversals, or contrarian in nature is not the right term, contrarian in strategy. So I prefer to be contrarian rather than trend following. And the reason you might want to do this is because you are looking for the largest amount of profit possible. So let me lower this. Could lower the stop loss a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So this is an idea. It's not an endorsement. And for those who are new here, I like to basically divide how I project stuff. So an idea is just, okay, seems logical at first glance. Not going to do a deep dive, just for you guys to, see a little bit of the machinations in my head. And then an endorsement is, okay, I've got skin in the game, so if you want to hop on in, I'm also hopping on in. So just an idea. We'll revisit this later, see how we react in terms of like the rest of the market. But so far, things are going a little bit too well. So, yeah. When things go a little bit too well, you tend to want to be skeptical. I see a lot more people came in. Let's see. I can't tell if that's Ichigo, but ... Welcome to the show. GS Aussie 73. I love the fish. Mile V, welcome. Thank you guys for dropping by on. Not sure if it's a Friday morning for you guys. Over here, it's Friday evening. So thank goodness it's Friday. But I do have class tomorrow, so that's good. That's gonna suck a lot. All right, but yeah. So again, I did post the short that I placed in my signals channel in the chat. So if any of you guys are interested, it's over here, right? That entry's over there. Let's look at oil. So oil did try to run back up yesterday. 1 day chart. Let's go to the 4 hour. Excuse me. Okay. So the 4 hour does have a gooseneck. Is it gooseneck or goose? Man, the things OC and I come up with are a little confusing sometimes. But yeah, so it does have goose head. There we go. So we have a goose head, and that basically signifies some sort of weakness. It could also signify the start of a trend reversal. We can also see that in terms of momentum, Currently, the MVP ribbon is right up against the fluid zero line. And if it gets rejected at this point, we can just expect further downside. Now, this area right here is interesting because if you get a bounce just like this, right, and this is support, if you get a bounce just like that, then you've basically started a bullish butt cheek pattern. And this right here is a taco tattoo. So you have a bullish butt cheek pattern, and a bullish butt cheek, they like ripping to the upside. They like farting, so that force is gonna push price up. So I'd set alerts here. Now I don't know if your exchange, uh, offers tokenized oil, but in any case, it is still useful to look at the price of oil just to get a sense of things. Granted, I know how gas companies work, and they charge you by the price of how much it costs them to replenish their inventory. So regardless of whether oil moves here at this point, they're probably charging us this amount right here, and then it'll take a week for them to charge us this amount, or they'd probably stay there, and then it'll return to normal somehow. It'll probably be like 3 months of no fun, basically. Oh, I see. Again, I don't know if it's Ichigo, but Wraith, welcome. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin. Actually, no, let's check Ethereum. So, this is an idea I believe that we had, since I didn't call that, but it is very close. And this is why I like leaving ideas, because again, you're not sure if they're gonna pan out until you review them or look at them again. So I placed this because it was near to the upper trend line here on the rising wedge. And as you guys know, rising wedges tend to break to the downside eventually. That said, right, this rising wedge might be a little problematic because sort of the bias on this rising wedge is to the upside, right? It's touched support 3 times, but it's touched resistance over 4. This is the 4th attempt, and it has built quite a lot of support, all things considered, right? You got one support down here, you got another support, right? And the charts are just filled with lines now. It's probably difficult to read, so let me turn off the indicator so we can see that. So it's built support here, it's got another one here. Technically, it's trying to build one up here. And so if you get, hey Draxus, welcome. Again, still really shocked when again, you're not streaming this, but on my end, as I look to the left, I just saw Huggy Wuggy. And again, I played the game, so quite the jump scare, right? I got trauma from playing it without watching any YouTuber. Oh my goodness, really not getting over Huggy Wuggy. Nothing much. Nothing much. But we are looking to short Bitcoin, like I said, around this area, and it looks like Ethereum might follow suit. So, excuse my poorly drawn lines. Okay, let me put the indicators back. Let me remove this. So I am looking for the 4-hour to go overbought on Ethereum, and in that case, it's probably prudent to maybe move this to the upside. And actually, this could be our short swing or even scalp for Ethereum. That would make a lot of sense to me. And then we can probably move this stop loss a little bit closer and put the take profit a little bit closer as well, back down to the dynamic reactor. And that would make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me. But I am a little bit concerned because, this is technically bullish butt cheeks. Right, the bullish butt cheeks strike again, but it is a higher low as well, so a little bit concerning. And then if you zoom out, let's go to the 12-hour. I do think this is going to be, oh yeah, this was the triangle I drew. Right, that's the descending channel. Yeah, it's a bullish butt cheek here on the 12-hour, as suspected. So a short here might not make the most sense if it's. I mean, it's gonna be a short swing, right? Now you could also explode to the 12-hour dynamic reactor, and I probably shouldn't have deleted that since it was just an idea. So let's just leave that. Let's park that idea over here for now, and potentially look at another idea, which would be to take a short here, just above it, and then aim for this support. Yeah, maybe lower this a little bit. Yeah, that also makes sense to me. Oh no, we can raise this to that dynamic reactor, and then aim for this. Yeah, that also makes sense to me. So it's just a matter of reviewing and setting alerts to figure out which one is more likely to play out. Personally, I do think this one's more likely to play out. This one seems a little early, right? You could, I mean, something like this could happen where you now have a triple bottom. And unfortunately, unless you have three butt cheeks, I don't think I can call that bullish butt cheeks. I'm sorry, little fish. I don't know anyone with three butt cheeks. Although, do let me know if you know someone with uh, three butt cheeks. I think we should give them an award or something. But yeah, so I don't think that's likely. I do think you're gonna push to this level, potentially go back down here, even rocket to the FVG. So this might not even be likely. I don't know. This would be likely because this is the scenario that's playing out, right? So yeah, something like this could pan out. Da, 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 da. 2016 music. But yeah, so I'll leave the I'll leave. I'll park this idea here for now. Let's go Bitcoin. Yeah, I think our short's the one that's gonna play out first. Let's pull out. Oh god, I should probably get a band-aid first. Uh, I'll get a band-aid, but first I'll probably just talk about what we're looking at on the 4 hour. So the 4 hour is overbought, right? But I do think you push. I think you push. Um, I think you push. You get this FVG. Probably going to be violent. You break this, and then you're going to get a retest. I think that's what's likely to happen. So I'll just wait that out. Swing is in the chat in case anyone is interested. I do have skin in the game there. I have a short as well. So if you guys want to short with me, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, not financial advice. It's just something I think about. And if you agree with sort of the rationale, then yeah, it's your decision. Okay, let me go to Surfshark, turn on my VPN. Yeah. Just double checking if I do have my thing. And while I'm doing that, I'm just gonna quickly disinfect my cut and then get back to you guys. I'll be right back. let's see here. So Bitcoin is continuing its move to the upside. I'm not sure exactly. Actually, let's go back to the 5 minutes. It's a little difficult to ascertain whether or not it's okay. So it is moving down a little bit. Again, ultimately, in a few hours, I do think we head to 75,612. Excuse me. So I am looking for a short at around that area. Yeah. Hey, Red Panda. Hey, Billy Nat. Welcome. Okay. Let's see here. Just gonna cut the Band-Aid. Okay. All right. I'm good. Okay. So that shouldn't bother me anymore. Let me turn on the camera. Okay, so 5 minutes. Man, let's look for some opportunities here on Ethereum. Yeah, let's also look at Solana. It's been a while. Oh yeah, this is the box we drew a couple sessions ago. Solana might actually break out of its box. Yeah, it might break out of its box. If it does, a move to this FEG makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm gonna release some short signals soon. Right, again, this is an idea. See if we can get a decent up, not even close to a decent RR. Let's go to gold. Nope. Okay, silver. So looks like the double butt cheek pattern's failing for silver. Probably do a long on silver. Yeah, something like this can make sense for silver. Yeah, we can park this idea here again for now. This would make sense to me. Ooh, but next volume node, so I'm slightly lower. And want lower than that node. Something like this. Yeah. Again, we can park that idea. Yeah. I think our short's gonna play out, so I will just wait for Oh yeah, we should probably check out USDT dominance while we're at it. So, ooh, for those who are new to trading or don't know the relationship between USDT dominance and crypto in general, right? When USDT dominance is high, crypto goes down. The logic is that if it's high, that means the percentage of people holding uh, uh, their crypto in USDT is higher. Therefore, it can be presumed that they, or even assumed that they sold their crypto and they're now holding it on in USDT. But when it goes down, like right now, it can be presumed or assumed that people are buying because that means less people are holding their cryptocurrency in US dollar tether. Now, the reason why we like looking at that, of course, is to also gauge the strength of the entire space, but also because, like forecasting in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, what have you, we can see that USDT dominance is about to face some kind of support. It's gone back to equilibrium. The dynamic reactor is right here. Now, you don't trade USDT, but it is likely to do the same thing, or it is likely to react the same way when it comes with our tools, or comes into contact with our tools. We can see that the 12-hour CPO plus is heading towards the lower extremity. It's likely going to get overextended. Same thing with the MVP ribbon. But given that the MVP ribbon is kind of far, I do think you can push further down. I am worried about this point here, the dynamic reactor. Volume range says we are likely to go a little bit lower, right? Because where the dynamic reactor is right now is a gap, right? There's a void in terms of volume. And this isn't necessarily buying or selling orders, but it's just saying there's a gap right there. So you're likely to skip straight down past the dynamic reactor, even down here, right? And that actually is quite interesting if it does that, because it could be some kind of fake out. Move down here, right? Quantum reactor, you get saved, even tap the FEG a little, and then head back up, back to this volume node right here. So USDT dominance, again, it's likely to stop somewhere soon. It's likely gonna find some kind of support, and when it does that, the retail that's aped in because Bitcoin's back above 70K, they're gonna get wrecked, and we're going to stay on the correct side of the market. So yeah, looks like we are getting that push. So I will probably leave it at the short, but let's look for positions we can do on stream, because that's sort of what we're looking for, right? So back to Ethereum. Yeah, this our old entry would have been hit by now. But again, when you look at the 12-hour, and this is why you shouldn't just take every projection, right? You leave some to be ideas so that you can revisit them later. So Ethereum looks like we can probably short at 2,300. This makes sense to me. Granted, it could wick to the FVG, and that's something you're going to have to weigh, right? This is a relatively high volume node area, and if it gets above that, then it's going to squeeze to the next area at 2,700, because there is no volume right here. There's a gap, and whenever there's a gap, price action tends to want to skip straight to the next node. So I do think we can probably post an Ethereum short, but I'm not entirely confident if this is the right area or this is the right area. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more analysis. Now, looking at Solana, what I am confident in is potentially shorting it back down to this box at around the FVG or slightly higher. Granted, it is at an area where there's like no volume. So in theory, that's going to skip. So that might not be the smartest. You can go here, right? But you can also fail. There's confluence to say that you're going to fail once you reach this point. But if Bitcoin moves up, everything might squeeze up as well. So I think I will put a call to short Solana at around this level. Yeah. And then retest the node. Yeah. So I'll probably add that. I'll determine what the recommended leverage is going to be using our calculator. Gold. Silver. Pokemon. I don't know if I'm too young or old to. Old's not the right term. I don't know if anyone's young enough. Actually, I have a feeling. How many of you guys grew up in Pokemon? Just like a you don't have to like raise your hand or anything, but like if you did grow up in Pokemon, that would be cool. Ooh, okay, Draxus. This is the what time frame is this? 12 hour. Yeah. It is a rising wedge, but if you remove the rising wedge, it also looks like a triple bottom. Uh, let's actually take this whole thing and make this 12 hours. Right. So if you remove the rising wedge, right, you technically have a triple bottom here. Even then, right, you did get a very strong V style recovery right here, and you did even retest that lower trend line that was blocking you. So I do think you push up here. So what I'm potentially seeing is some kind of fake out to the dynamic reactor, right? It's gonna be quick, it's gonna be violent, and then, or it could be slow. You never know. But I'd like to to think it's gonna be fairly quick, right? And then it's gonna do some sort of small retest because something like your 4 hours is overbought. Oh, perfect. And that's where I'm shorting. Uh, perfect, nice. And then yeah, my stop loss is at 78. Because at that point, if it gets there, then that'll be fun. But yeah, I am starting the short at the next node around this area. Because again, node theory is that from this node, right, you're now moving to this next node, right? Yeah, that's also a viable strategy. So again, my logic here is that the 4 hour, there's an FVG, 4 hours overbought, 12 hour might go overbought at this point, but even if it doesn't, there is a need for it to do some sort of retest of the support if it breaks to this point, right? And the retest, wherever that, or it's actually going to be here, right? That's our first take profit, and we'd go zero risk. So, uh, a strategy is always, you always have to think about where you want to de-risk, or not even de-risk, where you want to go no risk, right? And just let it run. But you also want to think about whether or not you can get exposure. So this makes sense, right? Being able to wait and see is always the best option. But, well, for example, I'm in Asia. It's a little difficult to wait and see since after 2 a.m. I am going to. So that's going to be 2 p.m. EST. So at 2 p.m. EST, I'm going to clock out and I'm going to take a rest, recharge, sleep, and then wake up. And then within that time frame of 4 to 6 hours, a lot of things can happen, right? And you won't be able to respond by then. But if you can wait and see, that's perfect, right? But at least here, I'm taking that probability based on what I'm seeing. Right. Actually, let's see if there's some sort of confluence back in fundamental analysis to tell us where liquidity hotspots may lie. So let me share the screen again. Excuse me. So at least here on the 1 day, your clusters, your clusters end at about 75.2, right? Here on the 7 day ends about 75.3. Let's go to 30 day. And you have clusters, are the local clusters at about 75, upwards to maybe 76, and then you've got like just a mountain of liquidity to the downside. Looking at the RSI heat map, right, it doesn't really give you anything at the moment other than the hotspot at 90,000, which is an incentive to probably short of 90,000 if it even gets there. Now, we can also see that there are hotspots, not a lot, but there is a hotspot at about 74,000, right? So we are trying to get to this point right here. Let's go down to the 2 week, see if there's more data that can enlighten us. And enlighten us. Oh, like bullish butt cheeks are enlightening. Oh, OC's gonna kill me when he watches this. Oh goodness. Yeah, so doesn't look like there's a lot of liquidity, but when you get to this point, it's easier for you to go down. So I do think 74-ish, 76-ish is definitely what I've been looking for in terms of where we could go. And we're just about to touch the FEG right now, so yeah, let's just watch what happens. Yeah, you could do that for sure. Yeah. Again, um, signals, they're suggestions. You can modify them to your liking. You can ignore them, and you can disagree with them. That's cool. Uh, yeah, no hard feelings, right? So this is just what I'm seeing, and I'm sharing that with you guys. And if you disagree, that's cool. Yeah, because human being, and I think in the log it says that I'm 77%. I have to double check. About 77% right, and the third, no, the 22%, 23%. Sorry, 23% of the time I'm wrong. So you can weigh that when looking at my signals. I just did this. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh man. Let's see if anyone else. Oh, looks like it's still the same crowd. Thank you guys for. Oh, someone just left. Thank you guys for sticking. It. Sorry. For context, it's midterms for us right now. I'm in university, so a little tiring. And then there's thesis on top of it. Uh, and then I have to go through this book because we have a history presentation to do. So it's a thick boy, very thick boy, and that tells you where I am in the book. Presentations on Monday. Of course, of course. Genuinely, after a long day of studying and writing papers, this is what I enjoy, right? It started as a tiny interest. I think that's I don't know. I think a lot of people, when they get into trading, when they're not necessarily, or it's not necessarily their course in life, or they didn't get a degree for it. It always starts off as just a tiny curiosity, tiny interest, and then suddenly it becomes a way to make money on the side, and somehow it's sometimes more profitable. It can be more profitable than your day job, right? Um, and yeah, so long as you have a strategy, this can very much be just a way to distress. At least that's how I see it, which is why I don't get really phased if the market goes one way or the other, because we have a strategy in place, and I like sharing that with you guys. So if you guys also have different perspectives and different strategies, I'd love to have a look at them too. And I think that's also the beautiful thing about trading is that a lot of our individual preferences kind of shine in the way we trade, how we view things, the market, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, but we learn from each other. I think that's the fun part. So yeah. Oh, take care, Drex. Oh, Drex has already left. Oh goodness. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So double butt cheeks, bullish butt cheeks, kind of playing, uh, but we are seeing some sort of rejection. Yeah, we are nearing that FEG from earlier on the 4 hour. Let's go back, and there's a bearish div here on the 5 minutes. The question is whether or not it basically says no to the bearish div and it continues. It's possible it continues. It's possible. But if you're already getting this kind of reaction and the 4 hours still has room to extend, I think we extend. Oh, I realized. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I didn't even realize I wasn't sharing my charts. I was still sharing the FA. My bad. But yeah. Oh, don't be afraid to speak up, guys, if you can't see the stream or the charts. I'm really sorry. uh, in the Philippines, we call this lutang. It's like half awake. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I'm looking for this move to the 4R FEG up here, and of course a retest because at this point your reactors have time to basically go back or go closer to price action and do stuff. But yeah, I'll leave that short for now. That's what I'm looking for, and then I'll probably post some signals after the stream. We can take maybe a scalp long, like over high probability over here, even at 72, maybe even here. So we'll just have to wait and see. Because I do think we push to entry. Okay. Yeah, there's still 21 minutes on the stream. So if anyone has questions or coins they want me to look at, just let me know. Let's go back to Trump. So Trump is now failing spectacularly. Uh, kind of similar to what's been going on right now. Ooh. Okay. Uh, might get a retest of the change of character. Yeah, that's support. Uh, that is a node. If you break below, then you you can basically go down to this FVG. Are there? Well, let me check if there are other coins that are interesting from the RSI heat map. So, Tau is interesting according to the charts. Also, render. Uh, let's look at Tau. Although historically, for some reason, I haven't really had the greatest luck trading Tau. It just beguiles my strategies, I guess. Oh, Tau broke above its quantum and dynamic reactor on the 12-hour. Very impressive. Looks like it's going to push up. It is overbought on the 12-hour, but it has a lot of money inflow. So that means the AI narrative is probably doing something interesting right now if Tau is pushing like this. So notice that we are overbought, but we have money inflow and momentum just pushing. And the fact that we have this huge gap in the volume nodes, which means that a likelihood of Tau pushing to 289 makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to set up a short idea, right? Maybe slightly lower of premium. Back down to this node. Maybe we can go higher and then lower this so we get a nicer move. Okay, so let's look at render. Ooh, render's not doing as nicely as Tau, but it is overbought like crazy. Huh. No, technically it touched this node right here. We could do a short on render. That would have played out pretty decent actually. Uh, or we can put a long here. I think renders we need to just wait out on render a little bit. So I'll wait out on render. Uh, where is Bitcoin? Oh, Bitcoin's already starting to fall. Where did this come from? Alright, let's see if we can get a move here. If I do think of a scalp long, I'll make sure to tell you guys. Even if it's after the stream. But yeah. Ooh, Trump pushing to 3.94. Mm. Mm. Ooh, that's engulfing. If it closes like that. To 12 minutes before we get the close. It's possible we just go for this and go back up. Doesn't even have to be as high, right? It just needs to leave a fairly long wick to continue a move up. So putting at resistance. So if it closes above this white line, then it's going to continue back up. At least for the 1 hour. Okay. So 5 minute close, pretty weak, but it's almost oversold, or at least it's heading to that lower extremity. So I'm not saying that we get a close uh, above the white line, but it is possible that you now bounce off, right, and head up. This could be a liquidity grab from late longs, or it could be real in the sense that we close below like this, and that means we're headed down. So we could probably take a short or move the short from up here down here. Uh, excuse me. A little bit unlikely, but we'll have to see, right? A lot of trading is really just seeing, waiting and seeing what's going to happen. Oh, hey Trader, didn't see you come in, but welcome. Uh, yeah, there's still 8 minutes on the stream, so if anyone has any questions, indicators, or things they want me to look at, just let me know. Yeah. I'm muted. Okay, there's 4 minutes left on the stream, so I guess we can do some macros before we close out. Since I'm not seeing you guys until next week. Okay. Now, first things first. The question is whether or not we get above this resistance right here and close there for the weekly, and we'll know only for like 3 days from now, right? Actually, 2 days, 10 hours. Okay, 2 days. Another thing we want to know is, do we close within the dynamic reactor? If we can, then that's cool. But what is true is that regardless of how we close, if we do close strong just like this, we're likely to continue a move up. This FVG right here, and I compel everyone to set alerts at 79,998 or 80,000, somewhere close. Compel everyone to set alerts at this point, because BTC is either going to reject, it's going to reject hard. It actually might even be like kind of weak. If you look at 2022, it was sort of a doji. It was an indecision candle. But if it rejects, there's a good chance you're going to capitulate down. And when you capitulate down, we're looking at around a move to about 52,000 before we get any sort of form of support, right? I would also suggest putting a lower high zone from 91,000, 92,000 to about 83,000, right? Because this whole area right here is incredibly important in determining whether or not we get any sort of upside. Again, I do not think we're going to all-time highs again. I do not think we're going to 110K. It's very unlikely we get back above 100, right? But the same sentiment was basically espoused when we got here, right? 47,000, Bitcoin dropped to 14. Everyone was saying Bitcoin's not going back to 47,000. It's impossible, right? And just from here, a couple of years later, right, 2024 from 2022, right? Actually, it's only been like a year, I believe. So, found the bottom, November 7, 2022. In 441 days, a little bit over a year. So, a year and maybe a quarter, it went back up to all-time highs, 204% move. And after that, we had our all-time high at 126,000. So, again, I do think that we get a move to this FVG. That's definitely in the cards, and I think it's more likely that we do go here than just capitulate at this point, back down, or not back down, but down, right? I think we get to this point first. There's a lot of incentive to go for 80,000. Yeah, looks like we're not gonna close above this white line. We're gonna get an engulfing candle. So I'll continue to monitor it up until 2 p.m. So if anyone has questions, feel free to tag me in trading chat, and you just ask your questions away. Looking at USDT dominance, notice earlier that we got to this point, but now we're rejecting, and bearish strength is weakening. Momentum still says it's headed down, but this rejection right here is telling me that it's gonna maybe dead cat bounce first. So we will see some downside. Yeah, downside going into the weekend potentially, then upside potentially. So yeah. All right. Okay, let's go here. And I think that about marks the end of the stream. So we did get a downward reversal triangle. We are oversold on the 5 minutes, so we're going to have to wait and see if we can get a push, because the 4 hour is still in question, right? The 4 hour hasn't closed, the 1 hour has closed, but if we close above this white line on the 4 hour, then we can continue our move to the upside. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me this weekend. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend ahead. Once again, I am Langestrom. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to always use a stop loss. I'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 a.m. EST. I'll see you guys.